Right Music Channel. How is everybody doing out there? I hope you're doing fine. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in to this live stream every Sunday night, Sunday at Mike's, 11 p.m. Central European Time. We're doing it, and we're doing it well as best as we can. But always a pleasure to have you here. I always start out by saying thank you so much for spending your time with me while I do my sound check here. Let me see. Um, Checking my sound. Hmm. I think my sound is okay. I just can't hear myself. Just having all these problems with my sound these days. It's very strange. Let me check here and see what's going on. Anyway, while I do this, we will hope that we can get it set. Um, hmm. Seems to be okay. Um, yeah, I think our sound is doing well. Good audio? All right. Well, in that case, since you're saying it's good, I don't know why I can't hear it on my end. Hey guys, how you doing? Hey Mike. Hey Mr. Watson. How's everybody doing there? All right, well, I'll take your word with it. The audio is good, Scott. Thank you so much for telling me that. Maybe it's something on my end. That's okay. That's fair enough. Everybody joining into the live stream now anyway. So good to see everybody. How's everybody's weekend been so far? Mine was okay. The weather here in Amsterdam was pretty good. Um, we got a great tie-in for tonight's topic. Well, my hearing's okay. I think the problem is with my computer's hearing, but that's okay. That's a good one. Yeah, just a mixed bag in terms of the weather, but today while I wait for more people to show up in the live stream, I talk about things usually that went on here upstairs to the right music. Today I was doing some restoration work. We have an unboxing video that will be released. I shot and will be released tomorrow. That will show three guitars being unboxed. These are vintage Japanese guitars from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Um, but in the case of the 70s, I got something called a Greco RB 700, which is a copy of the Rickenbacker 4004, which is the famous Paul McCartney Get Back bass. So if you guys are familiar with that bass, you'll know what this is a copy of. For a 50-year-old Japanese vintage guitar, especially one as rare as these because they are extremely rare to find. It was in okay condition, but somebody tried to fix a crack in the back of it using, I guess, an epoxy glue. And that's okay. You can do that. Yeah, cheers to you too. Cheers to you, Mike, as well. Um, and It had a bump to it, so they had filled in the crack, but the glue had the epoxy had built up and caused a bump in the ridge that was pretty obvious that you could see. And I said, okay, fair enough. They did a decent job in filling in the crack. I understand what they were trying to do, just reinforce the crack, but they didn't do those follow-up steps. So I made a little scraping device, two of them actually. This is the thicker of the two, a thick one with thick tape and then one with thinner tape. And then I went over that area and I scraped it. I just scraped it down, scraped it down, scraped it, got threw this one away, got the one with the thinner tape, scraped that down, followed it up with some 2,500 grit paper, 3,000 grit paper, and then all the way up to 4,000 grit paper on it, buffed it, and now not only would you know that the crack wasn't there, you would think that it was part of the wood grain because it's been buffed out and looks very shiny, mirrory smooth. So a little restoration. Then I had to do some rust work because there was some parts on it that were pretty rusty. But we've been through that before. I've showed you how I do that work. But a lot of sanding, a lot of restoration work is what I did with my day today. And it was interesting. Like I said, I enjoy getting those guitars in. This one is in great condition. It's all original. So I didn't have to worry about anything as far as that was concerned. It was just doing the restoration work and getting it looking just, as spiffy as possible for a 50-year-old guitar. Now, I've had some 50-year-old guitars that came in that looked really great. I've got an almost 30-year-old guitar I'm going to show you here in a minute that looks like it's brand new out of the box. So, it really depends upon where in Japan it came from. Was it by the coast? That'll add to rust. Was it inland? That'll add to a lot of fret sprouting because of the snow and things like that, humidity. But for the most part, they come in okay. But for what I do, getting them in at the best price that I can, they're not always in the best condition, but that's up to me to restore them. And I think I did a good job. I'll share that with you guys in a video one of these days at work, but just basic woodwork. So, Jay Lewis, how you doing, sir? Welcome. Welcome to the live chat. Welcome to all of you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in this Sunday at Mike's. Don't forget to hit the like button, guys. If you're here, I see 16 people watching and 6 likes up. Hit those likes, guys. Hit those likes. Thank you so much for doing that, guys. Appreciate it so much. Now, honestly speaking, I was thrilled this week to get my shipment in. And so I could obviously get to work on it. I knew that Rickenbacker needed a little bit of work, a little bit more than I thought, but it was anything that I couldn't handle. But I was just super excited to leave a comment as well. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, leave a comment as well, guys. Patrick, how you doing? Good evening. Welcome, sir. Welcome to you. But I was super excited about getting this shipment in because for first time ever, one of them was actually for me to keep. And I've been talking about it and researching it and finding out information about it. But finally, I actually have it. So since you guys are all here, let me show it to you. So this is a 1996 made in Japan Aria Pro II Telecaster custom. You can see the headstock there and get a feel for how thick the rosewood is on it. And yeah, it is an interesting burst on it. It's actually very typical for a lot of the Made in Mexico bursts that I've been looking at, trying to compare this to something. There's the backside. So 4 pieces, 4-piece alder. Weighs in at basically, what was that? 3.63 kilograms. So that's just the exact same weight that you would find on most Made in Mexico and most US made customs, outer body tele customs. Same, right in the weight range, same weight range. And the binding work, look at that binding work is, of course, it's 30 years of age on it, but the binding work is superb. I mean, it's superb all the way around. And yeah, and as you can see, that the neck is starting to, of course, amber up after 30 years. It's a satin finish on this neck. So this is a satin finish. Yeah, this is a legend, Seamus. Hey, welcome, Seamus, by the way. John, well, thank you, sir. It's starting to age after 30 years. Now, it does have a serial number on it. Thank you, Michael. It does have a serial number on it, but this serial number is not a Korean serial number, which led to all the speculation and investigation that I've been doing on this guitar, trying to figure out, what it is, where it is, and that reminds me of Richie Kozen's signature. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's got the DNA of it, and I'll give you guys the headline on this. What do I think about this guitar? As you know, I owned, didn't own. Okay, strike that. I played live in concert for 2 nights. This very same guitar, not this same guitar, but this same model of guitar in candy apple red, and it was a loaner guitar because my Fender Telecaster was in the shop, and the shop owner loaned me his candy apple red version of this guitar, and I played it for 2 gigs, and I love that thing. You can go on YouTube and see me playing it with my band. And I took it back, asked the guy if he would sell it to me. He said no, and he explained to me back then, as much attention as I was paying, that it was a domestically made Telecaster that they don't make anymore, and he wouldn't sell it. I said fine. And now it has been 13 years later. No, 12 years later. 12 years later, and I finally found one. And by the way, the only other one that I found was another candy apple red one, just like with custom, just like the one that I played live that night. One guy on YouTube has one that he was demoing about 2 years ago. That's the only other one that I've been able to find anywhere on the internet of these guitars. So if I hadn't been in Japan, if I hadn't had to put my guitar in that particular shop, a lot of chain of events, I would have never known about this thing. And to come across one like this is actually kind of a minor miracle, actually. As a keeper, it looks brand new. Is the knob spacing different than a Fender? No, no. Everything is to exact scale as you would find on a Fender. Now, what's the headline on this guitar? This guitar is what Squire was trying to do with the Custom Vibe line. I'm convinced of that because the Custom Vibe line debuted in 2007 as the 40th anniversary for Squire, which was kind of spurless. But anyway, then it went to regular production in 2008. This guitar is from 1996, made at the Chūgakki factory. And a lot of its DNA can be found in those early and even modern day custom vibes. Now, when I say it's what they wanted the custom vibe to be, again, like I said, this is 4 pieces, but it is an alder body. It is a rosewood fretboard. It is a maple neck with, interestingly enough, the same satin finish, except for on the custom vibes, they put that kind of satiny poly tinted finish to give it, trying to get this tinted age look that only time really will give you. But other than that, I would say the feel of the necks of them, in terms of the feel, not the diameter width, but the play of the neck, those are very similar. So very similar DNA. That's where it stops though, because the quality of this guitar is better than a custom vibe and as good as the made in Mexicos that they were doing in the early 2000s. So just in a headline, that's where I put this guitar. I put it above a custom vibe and just really right around the same area in terms of quality as a made in Mexico from that time. Interesting enough, these pickups are not ceramic pickups. These are Alnico 5 pickups. It plays very well. It plays wonderfully. The reason I fell in love with this guitar when I played its relative guitar, probably from the same line, because like I said, this was a domestic only made for a company like Ishibashi is what I've basically tracked it down to. But I love the neck. It has what I call the flat Japanese C neck. You don't find those on the American. You don't find them on the Chinese or Korean Squires. You don't find them on the certainly on the Mexican guitars or American ones. It's a certain feel to. It's a flat C, a wide C, I guess you could say, and it's the same neck that exists on my Fender Japan model that was in the shop. As a matter of fact, this neck is including the headstock because the headstock shape is the same. It was an unfinished, I'm sorry, a satin finish, same headstock, same neck, which leads me to believe that they were probably made in the same factory, believe it or not, because that neck, the reason I liked it so much is like, wow, this has the same neck as my Fender, but it's so much cooler. But uh, where the failings of this guitar was 12 years ago still exist. The hardware is not the greatest hardware in the world. It slips a bit. Tuning is a little bit iffy on it. And if you see my live playing of this model guitar, you'll notice I have a tuner on the headstock, and that's because I was constantly trying to keep that guitar in tune. And this is no different. So the hardware is the failing of this. But that bridge plate is the same bridge plate as you would find on a Squire. Interestingly enough, a lot of things about this guitar, but the point of it is this is a '96, and this thing, guys, is looks like it's just came out of the case. It's clean. It's a clean one. It is the antithesis of that Greco bass, but it's a clean guitar. Let's see. Let me catch up here. Nice telly. Dart Frog says, thank you, Dart. Brian D says, I like my Eric Johnson Virginia model Strat. Nice. Dart Frog says, I have a telly with humbuckers and a kill switch. Nice. Nice. Mike says, Mexico Fender is almost 1,000 USD now. Wow, are you kidding me? Really? No way. We can get Mexican Strats over here. Well, last year when I didn't go to Vinendal this last one, but in September they were going for like 600, 550, 600 euros. Interesting. My God, they have shot up. V-neck is my favorite. Yep, nice. So, hi, hello, Daddy. Where are you from? Here we go. Um, it is fitting. It's a step. It puts the custom vibes to shame. But is it as good as a Fender? No, no, no. I wouldn't put it up there. Fender USA, a well-made Fender USA. No, no. There's differences there, but again, like I said, it's as good as any made in Mexico, for sure, for sure. Um, so there's that. Let's catch up here. Crossed. I managed to find an old 1981 Washburn DB10 bass in a pawn shop, and after setting up, is now the best sounding bass I've ever played. Yeah, some of that, like the older stuff, is great. Seamus O'Brien, sir. So good to see you, Seamus, by the way. I've only seen one in about 20 years. That was in Thailand from a collector with a lot of Japanese guitar. There was lots of legend guitars, but the cheaper version starts with 2 string trees. Yes, sir. Thank you, Seamus, my man, doing your homework. And that's why I'm so glad that you guys are here, because you're all so smart, and that is a good pickup. That is correct. All of the Korean models, if you dig into it, you'll see that they have 2 string trees, whereas some of the higher end Japanese ones would have the vintage correct 1 string tree to it. And a couple of other things as well that make it obvious that it's a Japanese made model. But very good, Mike. That was one of the things that you look for to say, hey, is this the real deal? So, It's built to solid mid-90s Japanese standards. Four-piece body alder, one-piece maple neck, the vintage clean and classic tele shape to it, no doubts there. And again, but just made with that kind of, I'm sure it's season, parts of it were seeing, like the neck were CNC machined, but there are parts of this that were also handmade as well. And it just comes through. And again, in being almost 30 years old and 40 years old and being in this condition, I keep saying 30, but it's more, it's 40 years old, almost being 40 years old. It's hard to believe, again, like I said, that when I tell you that Japanese use is as good as American or anybody else's new, this is what I'm talking about. I get them clean. I try to get them clean, but boy, that's just clean. Clean, clean, clean. And you know, people ask, well, you know, will this guitar of mine XYZ hold up over time? Well, this one has managed to make it through 40 years. It really depends upon how you keep it. So this is also a lesson in terms of how you treat your guitars. Keep it in a case. Keep it, you know, well maintained. If you don't do it yourself, have a guy do it once a year for you. Stuff like that. But again, another thing other than the string tree, that's a hint that this is a Japanese made guitar, is the weight at 3.63 kilograms. That's right on par, like I said, with all standard alder body teles, whether they're US made or made in Mexico. And to have that kind of weight precision is a telltale sign of being Japanese made as well, because the Korean ones are known as being boats. Korean Aria Pro IIs are known to be boats. They were making them in alder. It's not true that they weren't making alder guitars in Korea as well, but they weren't paying attention to details as much in terms of weights like the Japanese were. And again, as I suspect that this guitar was made in the same factory as the custom from Fender, Japan, that was out at the same time, that looks suspiciously. I mean, the neck is different, but the body appointments and all that, the basic overall, you can see where the hardware is where they really cut the corners at. But even today, they would be considered to be all right. But I suspect they were made in the same factory too. So there's that. You know, it's real outer. You can feel it. Neck pocket is tight. Um, Unplugged, it's got excellent resonance to it. Really, you know, that 40 years of drying out has really made a difference. And so, you know, there's that. New acoustic guitar to look at is the Yamaha Tag 3C with built-in looper, reverb cord, jeez Louise, and a Bluetooth speaker. Does it make coffee for you too? Well, that's something, Brian. Yamaha makes very good guitars in Japan as the Tag's main trend. Yes, sir. I agree. I'll have to take a look at that. That sounds interesting. If you go through the Greco, anyway, catalog, by the way, I was going to say before, I had it up queued up here, but I'm not going to do it now, and look at that Greco RB 700 that I'm working on. The it lets you know that they didn't make a lot of them because it was in their kind of specialty section. But Japanese guitars, just to kind of build upon what you were saying there, Brian, they make very good guitars. And when they make them kind of different and special, they last. So if you got a good one there, if this Yamaha is as good as my Yamaha I have back here, then I believe you. Looks like $8.99 for the Mexico Tele with a similar finish from Sweetwater. Thank you, Mike. Yeah. So, how much did it cost me? So, shipped from Japan through my agent. I spent a total of 217 euros. Now, how much is 217 euros? 217 euro to USD. why is my internet so $245 is what I paid for these, which, by the way, is, where these guitars, if you not this one, because you're not going to find another one. Good luck on finding one of these, but if you do, buy it. If you see this one, hey, that's a guitar like Mike's. It's got one string tree. It's got, real custom binding on it. Buy it, because I've looked for 12 years, and this is the first one that's come my way, and I look at guitars every day over in Japan. But there are other models. And honestly speaking, at that price range, at $250 basically, is that what that was? Yeah, 245, 250 basically. That's a deal. And if you think about how much I told, even a used classic vibe is going for, and you ask yourself, that's shipped, including the VAT as well, by the way. That's including how much I paid for it, the shipping cost, and the VAT. So the total was $245 US. And you say to yourself, hey, for half the price of a classic vibe, now for a fraction of the price, of almost a quarter of the price of what they're asking for, as was pointed out there with the Made in Mexico similar models, it does behoove you to try to look at the secondhand Japanese market, and try to find something. And I've wanted to have, as you guys know, my own vintage. It's over 25 years old. It's almost 40. So, or is that, I keep saying 40, 90, 2007, or 7, I was right, almost 30. I'm sorry, guys, not 30, 40. 96 is 30, almost 30, 29 years ago. Sorry, I'm tired. Anyway, it still falls within the 25-year vintage rules, what I'm trying to say. So I got a vintage Japanese-made guitar, and I'm happy, and I'm good. I'm happy to have it. It's funny. I've had all kinds of Les Pauls. I started with Tellies all the time. Moved over to Les Pauls, had a few Strats, and when I sat down with this Telecaster, I felt like I was home again. I guess at the end of the day, I'm just a Telecaster guy. So a real beauty there. The pickups sound really nice. They sound really nice. I had to work with them a little bit. Brian D says, I have 7 real players. Less than a classic vibe. Squire Mike says, yeah. And again, better built. And way better built. The fit and finish on this thing is superior to that. And if you do a little digging, you can find them. Sounds good. I like the pickups. I'm not going to change anything. As you guys, it's for some miracle, by the grace of God, this thing has stayed in one piece original for almost 30 years now. And I don't want to be that guy to change anything. I don't need to change. I won't change the pickups. I can't change the hardware because, quite frankly, it's the hardware size of the bridge plate is a little bit different than standard. That's where you get a little bit of a difference in the bridge plate, and finding a replacement one is impossible. It looks brand new anyway. So, even though it's made from pop metal, which isn't my favorite, but again, that's the same kind of bridge plate that you would get these days on a Squire CV, so not a big difference there. But it's okay. I don't have to swap or change or mod or do anything to it. I'll keep it just as the way that it is. One small change that I may do is go in and rewire it with 50s wiring. But other than that, to really make it, authentic for the time period. But other than that, no, that'll be it. So, thought that I would share that with you guys and talk about that. I've been talking about it for a while, and now that it's finally in, I'm super happy. What would you sell it for today if you were to sell it? If I were to sell this one, what would I sell it for? Well, it really doesn't matter what I would sell it for. It's what the market would demand for it. And the interesting thing, like I said, these guitars go out there on the market between $250 and $350. If I asked for anything more than that, I don't think that the market would support it because, first of all, you really have to know what it is. I guess if you were a collector and you had an eye, you would see, you give me my 350 and that's probably tops. One of the reasons that I like it is because of that fact. It's not an overly expensive, but vintage, well-made Japanese guitar that I can use going forward on my channel to demonstrate what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the secondhand market, particularly over in Japan, and how you can find some superior guitars. You know, really great mid-range guitars like these for not a lot of money. So there's that. Speaking of sticker shock and price gouging, did you guys see the new Epiphones? Well, we talked about that, Mike. Touched upon it a little bit in the last live stream. I said the Epiphone rollout has begun and everybody and their mom has got an Epiphone. And there's one guy, I like him, you know, he got a lot of blowback. But he was like, I hate these new Epiphones. Don't buy them. He says they're cheap junk. You know, pretty good guitar player. Guy here on YouTube. A brother I respect. He said he had it. He had it in his hands. You know, he had the current standard 50s and the current inspired by standard 60s. And he hated them both. And he went through why and talked about the QC issues and the price issues, and he brought out examples that he also had. You know, he's one of those guys that has a room full of guitars of different alternatives to those that were cheaper. And I kind of dug that because everybody else is like, yay, isn't it great? They gave us rosewood now. It's like, please, sir, can I have some more? You know, it's like, why didn't if you bought the Laurel ones from last year, then you would feel with the, you know, with the heads, it's the real Gibson headstock, but still Laurel boards. Well, this year they're rosewood. You'd feel dicked out. I know I would. You know, because they keep on this limited edition, they keep on changing the specs every year and charging more. No, I'm good. I got a Tele. I've been on the hunt for a Tele, as you guys, you've been here in real time watching me go through all these Teles, looking for one. And again, like I said, this is what I've been looking for all along. So I'm good. Didn't cost me $245. Can't really beat that. It's Japanese made from the 90s. Can't really beat that. I'm good. You know, sounds great. I got a 1959 Strat. Nice, Brian. That's a great year. Keep them all pristine is imperative. I agree, Brian. You really got to take care of your gear. And in using that as a segue, I know this channel, he's really good guitar player and a college teacher. That's correct. He's a college teacher, yeah. And he tore into it. And I really appreciated him tearing into it at the time. And if you look down in the comments section, he got a lot of blowback, you know, as usual, as one would expect when you go against the narrative that's trying to be pushed out there. But his points were extremely valid. You really couldn't, you could deflect, you know, but you really couldn't take on head on. And of course, you got the usual ones. Well, mine was fine when I got in. Well, for that kind of money, which was his point, they should all be fine. They should all be fine. Why is it back in 1996 that the Japanese could, you know, this was a limited run, obviously, because there wasn't a lot of them, but they could put out guitars like this without any issues at all, that to this day still don't have any issues, you know. Why can't they do that at the Epiphone factory over there in China? You know, this is just an interesting question. You love India? Yeah, I had Indian food for dinner last night. He bought it with his own bread. Yeah, he bought it with his own bread. You know, his money from YouTube probably, which makes sense. But he bought both. Yeah, he bought those guitars, and he said, "I'm gonna buy them, and I'm going to. He's probably gonna return them too, but that's okay." He bought them, and he went through them, and I respect that. That's respectable. That's and he did his homework. You know. You know. Mike, a lot of videos are paid promos. Yeah, that's right. Please speak loud. Yeah, okay. They don't take time enough to dry the wood these days. Yeah, there's that. You realize that a lot of those guitars that were being made, like Gibson, for example, the acoustics and electrics in the 50s and 60s, the wood that they were using was at that point almost 100 years old. And that was it had already dried out, you know. And that's a big thing. Where are you from? I am from Los Angeles, California at one point, a long time ago. So there's that. Keeping them all pristine is imperative. We're going to use that actually, Brian, as a jump off to our next subject tonight. And that's about hearing loss in the aging musician. Scott wanted me to touch upon this. I've touched upon this a little bit in the past. If you don't mind, can I ask one question? Yeah, don't ask me to say anything for your daughter, like I need a hand job or read her name out or whatever. Please don't, because I'm not falling for it tonight, doggone it. No, go ahead. I'm just joking. Go ahead and ask your question. No, you're always free to ask your question. But while he's asking that question, let's segue into hearing loss in the aging musician. Hello, Gojo. And really, regardless of how old you are out there, it's something that you really, really will affect you. And I guess, again, another weird sort of circumstances got me on a good pathway to protecting my ears over the years because of my father being an airline pilot, first as a flight engineer and working his way up to captain. When you're a flight engineer, you have to walk the plane before takeoff. At least they used to. And you're walking around one or two or four of those Boeing engines, and believe me, you need ear protection. And my father did it. My father is now 86 years old, and his hearing is still pretty good. And how did he do that? And Rod says, "You so fit. That's why I'm asking what's your right age." Now, let me put it to you this way. I saw Star Wars premiere live at the Man Chinese Theater. So you look that one up, Google that, when that movie first came out, and that'll tell you how old I was. I was 10 years old at the time. Got some bots here tonight. Sorry, Scott, you might have to, your finger's going to be tired by the end of this evening for some reason. Good evening from England. Good evening to you, good sir. Gareth, good to have you here. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. If you've been playing for years, guys, rehearsing in loud rooms, gigging near crashing cymbals, blasting amps, or just walking down the street blasting your headphones, you're probably already feeling it. You're probably already feeling it. Sorry for that. My English is not too good like yours, but okay. No problem. No problem. I'm 58 years old. Troll invasion. Yeah, we got him tonight. But anyway, a guy like me at 58 years old, hearing, the last time I had it checked, I was in Bangkok a couple of years back. I'm really due for a checkup, but the eyes, ears, the whole works they do when you go there and have that work done. And the lady told me that my hearing was excellent. Um, Hearing is a musician's most valuable piece of gear, actually. And unlike a pedal or pickup, it's not something that you can really replace. We talked about it's imperative to take care of your instruments. Your ear is an instrument that should really always constantly be prepared to protect in loud volume situations. Garrett says, I hate loud rooms, guitarist here. I went for a jam with some mates and hated every minute of it. Lol, yeah. Because, you know, it's really par for the course to be in that kind of environment. But at the same time, if you think about the long run, it's just not going to work out, for your ears. And why is that? Because our inner ear contains these tiny little hair, these little, well, in my case, in my ears, I got to the age where I have to occasionally have them waxed. I hate to admit that little bit of a tidbit. But no, we're talking about these really tiny hair cells called cilia. And that's basically what converts a sound into nerve signals. And once you damage your cilia, they don't grow back, much like our hair. Once we lose it, it doesn't come back. And the cilia, once they're damaged for good. And that's not including the buildup of earwax, um, the drying up of earwax in your ear, which will cause other problems like dizziness, things of that nature. Hearing imbalance, things of that can happen. And most experienced musicians will tell you that high frequency roll off is one of the biggest problems that you'll face. I'm so pleased that my high frequency hearing is pretty good. Um, but I know guys who can't hear the snares, they can't hear the cymbals as loudly anymore because their high frequency hearing has rolled off on them. Another thing that can happen to you is you can develop tinnitus. Now, I've had that happen, and probably you there that was just chiming in, Gareth, about playing with your mates. You probably walked out of there with that ringing in your ear. Well, that's a form of tinnitus. And if you do that long enough and loud enough, that can be a permanent condition where you're constantly getting that ring. The dude from Get Out. Not even close. Sorry. No. I'll accept the guy from Terminator 2, but the guy from Get Out, nah, buddy. I'm way better looking than that. Difficulty isolating sounds in noisy environments. It's what audiologists call the cocktail party effect. In other words, we have the ability in a crowded room to do like we see in those superhero movies where Superman is just focusing in on just one voice. In his case, it's way the heck across town. But we do that in a crowded room. But if we really push our cilia to the breaking point, you can get to the point where you cannot make that kind of distinguishment. It's just a morph of just sound. It's a whoa, 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 whoa. And that's not good either. It's hard to mix a record when you can't separate the frequencies. And that was one of the things that got me putting wax in my ear every time I went to work in the studios. When I went to do my second engineering work or to mix, or um, when I was mixing, I didn't put wax in my ear, but I would take breaks. I wouldn't sit there for hours on end. I'd give my ears a break. And then, of course, later on, we start getting these earplugs that we can buy, like Loop, which I sponsored me once. And these are things that you should start using. You really should, like yesterday. If not, by age 50, most guitarists and drummers already have noticeable loss, even if it's been undiagnosed. You really should go in. If you're over 50, you really need to go in and get yourself checked up anyway. Yeah, it's not the greatest thing in the world to have somebody sticking their finger up your butt and not pay for it. I gotta get a finger in my butt and I've gotta pay for it. That's my biggest problem with it. But at least in Thailand, it's female doctors. You get a 70-30 chance of getting a female doctor, so it's not so bad. At least you can make it into something else in your mind, I guess. Still unpleasant, but still something that you should do. And part of that also is getting your ears and your eyes checked as well. Are you feeling sorry for fingers? Yeah. In that lady doctor's case, yeah. Ringing from a loud orgy, yeah. Ringing from a UFO concert, still from 1978. Yeah, man, that Prince 1999 concert from '83 is still linger in the back of my mind as well. So by age 50, you really should be checking yourself out. You might find yourself turning out amps louder. Not realizing really it's your ears that are the issue. Mixing becomes tougher, if not impossible. I always wanted to mix. I love mixing albums. It's my favorite thing to do, other than restoration work, interesting enough. Hands and ears and eyes. But I really set out to be all my life to mix and to continue to be able to mix. And in order to do that, I had to protect my ears. You may overcompensate with EQ or misunderstand phase issues if your ears aren't working. That's, why, you kind of want to protect your ears. In a live setting, you might misjudge levels or dynamics, especially with cymbals or vocals. So there's that as well. And the emotional impact, of course. Some older musicians become withdrawn because of it, stop mixing, stop playing altogether. You know. So there's that. There's that. Tone isn't just in your fingers, guys. It's also in your ears too. You know. And so I encourage, if you're under 30, protect your ears at all costs. There are products out there that you can buy. Like I said, the Loop. Check out Loop. They sponsored me once. You can check out the Loop earplugs. Or just get yourself some beeswax like I used to do back in the 80s and 90s. I used to literally take just plain old beeswax. You could buy it at the farmer's market. Came in a jar and, take out a scoop of that, put it in your ears, and you're good to go. You can hear people talking to you, but you're cutting out a lot of that high end frequency, a lot of that low stuff that's damaging your ears. So earplugs are an option. Volume discipline is an option. You don't have to turn everything up. You don't have to rehearse like your AC/DC playing a live show. Okay, you can have everyone bring it down. Keep your amps pointed away from your ears when possible. I mentioned getting tested. If you're over 50 and you haven't gotten yourself tested, it's really imperative that you do so. You know, in-ear monitors, if you are playing live, is great. I've used them playing live, used to, they're great. Especially if they have a limiter built into them, that's great. You got protection and clarity going for you. With your headphone habits, don't mix and track at high volumes. Take breaks in between when you're mixing. I took breaks all the time. I still do. When I'm mixing my albums, I will walk. When I'm doing a mixing session, I will It'll take a day. I'll mix a single song. A record will take a week or two for me to mix but I'll walk away for a couple of hours, have lunch, watch something else, and then come back in. But those are some of the things that you can do. Um, you know, the earlier you start protecting your hearing, really, honestly, the better off you are. And are you drunk nonstop speaking? Well, let's see now. I'm doing a live stream where I'm speaking on a topic that requires me to actually speak. So I don't quite understand your objections to me speaking on my live stream where I'm supposed to be speaking. But if you can think of another way of doing it, sir, I'm all ears. So, change topics, please. Well, okay. Let's talk about trolls who come on to the live streams. We've had a lot of trolls tonight, some wonderful ones. Uh, that have some of them are funny and entertaining. I do like some of them were asking questions that I don't mind so much. Some of them were being rude and they have to go. But all of them were contributing at least more than you are right now. So if you have another subject that you'd like me to speak on, I'd be glad again to be all ears. Right now, we're going to continue to wrap this up about hearing. Mike, if you're going to sorry, let me go to the big screen here. If you're going to thrash your hearing, make it Aerosmith. I don't often listen to them, but when I do, so do my neighbors. I hear you. Some stuff you just got to crank. I agree. I agree. Um, so this conversation tonight was suggested by Scott. Thank you, Scott, for modding tonight, as always. Thank you so much. And it's a subject that I want to touch on because, again, like I said, if you're younger and you're playing loud gigs, you need to invest in as much as you invest in a pedal or strings or anything like that. You need to invest in some kind of ear protection. And there's so many out there right now. You're welcome, Scott, for you, really anything. Um, but there's really no excuse. Back in the 80s and 90s, when I was growing up as a young musician, beeswax in a jar was about your only option. They didn't have the fancy in-ear, not because, headphones back then were like this. You look like Princess Leia, when you were wearing your headphones. They weren't discreet. And it wasn't something that I could walk around the studios doing because it just wouldn't have been, good etiquette. But having discreetly a little bit of beeswax in my ears that people really couldn't see and still being able to communicate really saved me in a lot of situations, especially playing live with my band in Japan. When I was playing live on stage, same thing. I was, even by that point, decades later, I was still doing the same thing. You're never too young to start. Do you believe it's good to give phones to kids or not? No, I don't think it's good to give phones to kids. I think that your brain is developing at a certain age, and the iPads, and things of that nature actually are detrimental to a child's learning because they're not really reading; they're scrolling or looking at pictures. They're not doing some of the basic things that I did when I was a kid. I didn't have an iPhone. I had a book called See Dick and Jane Run. This is Dick. This is Jane. This is Dick and Jane's ball. Dick and Jane's ball is blue. I wasn't sitting there looking at somebody reading that to me. So no, I don't think that they're great. Mike, thanks for the old video about the Greco EG700. I just got one, man. It's awesome. They are awesome guitars. I've been told by my main buyer that he wishes me to obtain more. So you're going to see some Les Pauls coming back through here again. As a matter of fact, I think every guitar in the next, well, two or three of the four guitars in the next unboxing for next month is looking like are going to be Greco 700 Strats and Greco Les Pauls. So I got a, I told you I got a 600 coming in. No, I'm sorry, an 800 coming in, an 800. So anyway, only if the device has limiter like Sony Walkmans. Yeah, true. I agree, Scott. My Walkman did just died. What a coincidence. Yeah, guys. So here's that EG. Let me refresh. I'm gonna click on that, Scott. Let me look at that just to. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of these because I've been told uh, by my main buyer that he wants more of these. So yeah, you're gonna be seeing a lot more of these. The 800 I got is in the ST Greco ST, not the EG. But yeah, um, guys, circling back to finish up on this Telecaster. Um, I mean, really, look at that. Can you see that binding work? It's yellowed and it's aged naturally. That's 30 years of age that's made it, look that way, not trying to make it look that way like they do on a lot of guitars these days. But getting back to these, I want to circle back to this. Tone is in the fingers, they say. Yeah, but it's also in your ears, but it's also in your mind as well. Man, Motivational Hub, this is a guitar channel, dude. I don't know if you kind of got the hint here, but this is not a general topic kind of channel. I'm not here to talk about love lives. I'm not here to talk about when is the best age to marry. I mean, that's a cultural thing, Some cultures, you're old if you're 13. Some cultures, United States, it's looking like the 30s and 40s people get married. But again, this is a guitar channel, man. Now, if you want to ask me a question, if it's a good idea to give your wife a bass pedal on your 5th anniversary, like my guitar player Kago did, I went with him when he went and picked it up too. I was like, are you sure this is your 5th wedding anniversary and you're going to give your wife a bass pedal? You sure that's a good idea? But he said she would love it. I was like, all right. So I wouldn't advise that, but, other than that, that's the best I can give you. Frets and strings and things, dude. Yeah, exactly. That sums it up, Mike. But getting back to this and tying it all together, it's a sensual thing, really, and it's a tactile thing. These guitars, it's a funny thing too, and don't limit yourself to what the hype machine out there is telling you is what you need to have or what's the best thing for you to have, especially in any given price bracket. Um, don't feel in any way, shape, or form limited by just a local market. If you have a post office, some of us, here watching tonight, live, literally on desert, islands, But if you have a post office, a way of sending and receiving packages, then the world is your oyster and you should be exploring it. I got a guitar, but pretty old. It's our home since 1970. Really old one, but I love it. And it's a village home. That's nice. Some of those old guitars like that, those older ones, you never know. You might want to take a look at it and see who made it. It may be of some value. But again, you can pick up something like this at a fraction of the cost of a custom vibe, and it's a better guitar. Hell, I submit that it's as good as a made in Mexico model. Um, and For $245, you really can't go wrong. So there's that. I've been talking about it. It's finally here. Um, Glad it made it. Glad they all made it. Oh, the JV Strat made it. It's gone, guys. The JV Strat. I wanted to show them to you. I wish I could hold on to them, but my client was anxious to take possession of them once he knew they were in. You'll see it in the unboxing. But that 85 JV Fender Strat was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. It was a beauty. It was a great Strat. And again, when you hold Fenders like that, and then you hold something like this Legend, then you see what the differences are. Um, Usually in fit and finish, but there wasn't that great of a difference. Steph, where you from, boss? I'm from right here in Amsterdam. Oh, you're talking to Motivational in the Bronx. Nice. All right, guys. That's it for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning into the Upstairs of the Right Music channel and listening to this discussion tonight about the vintage guitars, Aria Pro II I got here that we'll be talking about. You'll be seeing more of it. It's mine. Finally, I got myself. This 25-year-old rule works for me, so I got myself a vintage. Boy, that went. Boy, I wasn't done speaking yet, and they already turned off the lights on me. Oh, we're doing something in honor of Prince there in the background. Um, but it was worth a 12-year wait, to find one. I know I will never find another one again. I will look casually, but it's a blessing. And it's one that was affordable blessing too. So there's affordable blessings out there to be found, guys. Take a look. This channel is all about encouraging you to find your best alternatives out there. Don't believe the hype machine. Protect your ears and the ways that I talked about tonight. And I will see you guys. There's going to be a regular content video unboxing coming out tomorrow. Please do watch that. Don't forget to hit the like button tonight. I see we've done that. Don't forget to leave a comment down below. Leave a comment in the unboxing video. I'd like to hear your thoughts on those guitars. And I will see you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.